Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell, and today we're going to be talking about the top 3 reasons people don't have success with organic marketing.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go!
And as I get in this today, this is really the common things that I see, especially with the people I interview, the people that I work with. But before I get into this, who is this for? This is for the business owner who wants to leverage social media, and not only that, but they want to get a better qualified client, and they just want to learn how to do this in an effective manner. But the big thing is with anything, you have to be consistent if you want to be successful. So the number one reason why you may not be having success with your organic marketing is simply from a lack of consistency. And what does that mean? That means that one of the main reasons you will not have success with organic marketing is because you're not consistent. So it could be you're consistent with posting, but your messaging may not be consistent. And in that is you can post consistently, but have an inconsistent message and still not get the results that you ultimately are looking for. And so simply a lack of consistency with messaging and with posting can really affect the results that you're getting. Now, one of the things that I see most of the time is when somebody needs a client, they get really consistent with posting. When they don't get a client, or when they don't need a client, or they're a little bit down on themselves and on their businesses, then there is a lack of posting, a lack of effort when it comes to your message. And so in that begins to develop a lack of consistency across the board, which simply means you don't get the results that you ultimately want. Now, number 2, and this is something that I think a lot of people will not talk about, but it is one of the most common things that I see, and it's this. The number 2 reason why you may not be having success with your organic marketing is fear. Now, fear may be, simply from putting yourself out there. Fear may be from being afraid of what, people will think if you put yourself out there. But this is probably the one area that I see the most, but it is the least talked about. And, there's typically 1 or 2 people when we begin to put ourselves out there that we think about. It could be, parents, it could be friends, it could be even, past relationships, whatever that is. But a lot of times it's someone who's very close to us. It's someone that we hold, we know that really matters to us. And so, we have this fear of, well, what are they going to think of me? What might they say or whatnot? And kind of like what I found out about this is like so many people have that limits them to really fully putting themselves out there. Not only that, but it's this, they don't even know it. The other person typically doesn't know it. And not only that, the person that's afraid to put themselves out there has created so many stories around it that it almost paralyzes them from doing anything. And so they hold back. They resist the effort of even just stepping forward into that. And so, I can remember a few times like feeling like this when I had clients in my brick and mortar business, because a lot of them would maybe not comment on anything I said, but they would say little snarky things in my business like, oh, hey, what about this? But it was all related back to something that I maybe posted. And when I started posting, I would feel kind of this resistance because of what they said to me. And I remember having to work through that. I'm like, man, these guys they don't post anything on their own page. Not only that, they just kind of sit back on the sidelines. They don't even comment on my stuff. They don't like it, but they always have something to say when they saw me in person. And yet, when I looked back at the things that they were doing, they weren't doing any of it. And so oftentimes I would say, well, that's funny. I don't see anything you're posting online. And number two, I don't see you commenting or liking anything that I'm doing. So rather than sitting on the sideline criticizing me, either get your ass in the game or keep your mouth shut. And once I did that, I got over the fear of worrying about what other people think. Now, those things may come up, but I can promise you no one is going to criticize you when it comes to putting yourself out there as much as you're going to criticize yourself. And even if they do, I've found that the people who criticize you the most usually are people that are not even posting anything. Because, in the game of marketing, like if you're out there putting yourself out there consistently, if you're marketing, most people would respect that and appreciate that are doing that same thing. So it's the people that criticize us that are not doing any of it. Now, the number 3 reason why you may not be having success with your organic marketing is you don't have a good system. Now, one of the common systems I see too. The first system, and I don't even want to call it a system, but it's basically called the spray and pray method of marketing. And what this means is they just go spray a bunch of content on a bunch of different platforms, and then they sit back and pray someone is going to slide into their DMs and hopefully reach out to them. Well, very rarely does that work. Very rarely does the exact same content work on each platform. So what works oftentimes on Instagram does not work on Facebook. What works on Facebook does not work on Instagram. What may work on TikTok may not work on other platforms. Now, it doesn't mean that the content isn't working. It simply means that it has to be slightly tweaked a little bit. And so having a good system, it's much better for you to be good at one platform and figure that out and then begin to apply those same principles or that same system to another platform than it is to try and figure out all the platforms that work. And so what I always tell new people that come into our program is like, look, you need to spend 80 to 90% of your time working off this one system. Once you figure that out and once you begin to get results, then we can talk about incorporating this system on another platform. And so it's very similar to a diet, right? It's all diets work if you follow them. If you follow the system, what doesn't work is trying to follow 3 or 4 different diets, even though they all individually work. But what doesn't work is trying to follow all 3 or 4 of those at one time and taking little bits and pieces from each and then putting it in your own thing. That is not a system. That is, I don't even know what you call that, but that is not a system. A system is something that gets a repeatable result that you're looking for. Borrowing little tits and bits from each thing is not a system. Where we get lost is, I used to do this, I used to do that, and then we put all of that together and we call that a system. That's not a system. And I see people consistently not having a good system to follow. They're just randomly putting things out there with no rhyme or reason, deciding, 30 seconds before they're going to post something, what they're actually going to post. That is not a system. So to sum this up, these are really the top 3 reasons I see people not have success with organic marketing. Again, it's lack of consistency. It's fear, afraid of putting yourself out there, afraid of what people will think. And then number 3 is not having a good system that you follow. So I want to thank you guys for joining today on the Habit-Based Lifestyle Show. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.